All right, everybody, what is going on, Dewayne?
What's up?
What's up, man? It's been a while.
It has been a minute, as the youngins say.
Yeah, dude. Glad to see everybody. Hope you're doing all right. We're going to be talking about many things. We'll be joined by Jeff Morgan here in a second. I wanted to get my buddy on here. He just got back, lost his mother last week. And I know yesterday that was his first Mother's Day without his mom. So wanted to connect with him. It's been a while. So he'll be joining us here in just a second. But how was your Mother's Day, Dewayne?
Well, I'm not a mother, so there's that.
I have a little sore subject for you, right?
It is a sore subject. I don't know if we wanted to get into that. I'm more than happy to talk about
Go
it.
ahead, man. Go ahead.
If people ever wondered kind of like why the pissed off parent is the way the pissed off parent is, there's a number of reasons. I've had issues with women my entire life. Growing up, I had a mom that had some mental issues, some little challenges there, and spent a lot of time in a happy place. And unfortunately, she pulled some crap years ago where I basically had to cut her out of my life. And I hadn't talked to her in, decade, 15 years, around 15 years. And then the other day, I got a thing from Ancestry, and found out she passed away in November of 2020. So, yeah. So that was kind of a...
How long ago you found that out?
I found out Thursday, Friday last week.
What was the feeling?
I will say, people ask me at times when they find out kind of like what goes on, in the head there, what's it like, what you went through and all that stuff. And I mean, even though I had to cut her out of my life, I mean, it's my mom. I mean, my parents, your parents are your first bond that you make. They're your most important bond. And to have those things or to have issues and have that ripped away from you, I mean, it hurts. I mean, I thought about my mom every single day, but I had to sit there and do what is the best for me, my own sanity, for my family and all that. And I had to ultimately make that decision. And I mean, it hurts. It's not an easy thing, obviously, but I made the decision. I have to stick by it, obviously. And now I can't go back, but yeah, it hurts. Every single day I think about that. I think about my dad. I think about my mom. I mean, in different ways, but I think about them every day.
Yeah, man. What age were you when the two of them split?
Oh gosh, which time?
So it was one of those on again, off again.
Yeah, I was about 17 or 18 when the final divorce happened, and I of course got paraded around through the whole thing. I think I've shared this. If not, quick summary. Yeah. One of the fun claims to fame with my mom outside of mental institutions was I was about 12 or 13 years old, and she took a knife after me, and I was able to get away from her. And that was one of the things that was brought up in the divorce. Actually, read the divorce documentation. It has in there me recounting that story in court during the divorce. But yeah, I mean, it had some impacts. It made me the man I am today.
There you go.
And I use humor, self-deprecating humor and all that to get through the day, like everyone else that's been damaged.
Yeah, I get it, man. Guys, man, it is so good to see you. See several familiar faces down there in the comments. Talk to us. Yeah, tell us how you guys have been doing. You got any questions, things you want to talk about? There's a lot going on in the what Dwayne's been referring to as the bowel movement.
The bowel movement?
With father's rights and all that stuff, man. I've got an interesting show coming up very soon. I don't want to let it out yet, but should be in the next week or so. Really, really looking forward to it. Just released an interview a couple weeks back. If you haven't seen it, with Neil McDonough, the actor. He has a movie coming out. I don't know if it's out yet. No, I think it comes out later on this month, called The Last Rodeo.
Yeah, May 23rd, I think it is.
Yeah. Other than that, man, we get, I guess we did an interview not long ago, but it wasn't live. We interviewed the producers and writers of The King of Kings.
Yes.
Did you ever get to watch that?
I never got a chance to watch it. I need to get to the theater and check that out because I was excited about it. Yeah, we got a chance to interview those guys all the way from Korea. Yep. And that was their first animated movie, and it was something else. I mean, just the commercial for it had a Charles Dickinson theme to it. Yep. Kind of cool take on the whole thing. There were so many parts I don't want to sit here and drone on about it, but yeah, if you get a chance to go see The King of Kings,
definitely.
It's going to be a cool movie.
Ah, cool, man. So I got a few comments here. One's talking about something you just brought up, Dewayne. I'll get to that here in just a second. But Michael Keller said, well, in the process of moving, emergency situation, short of panicking, should really go to bed. 3 a.m. here, SSDD. Where are you at, Michael? I'm trying to think of where he would be for it to be
where
3
he's at.
I'm guessing somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
While we're waiting to hear back from Michael on that, Mr. Dave Murray, hadn't got to see him in a while. What about the guy who just drove his truck into the juvenile jail because he didn't see his kid? That was something you was just telling me about before we came on here. Tell us about what's going on, Dewayne.
Okay, well, and you can also watch the video with the information on the Pissed Off Parent YouTube channel. But actually, some weird stuff out of Indiana. There's something going on in the water up there. I don't know what it is, but so this guy that had been kept from his kid for over a year, and he had apparently some other issues going on, but he had was away from his kid. He drove his truck through the juvenile detention center. And actually, if you go to, again, Pissed Off Parent on the YouTube channel, you can see the pictures that I put up there with it on the video, short video. And it had Fathers Matter spray painted on the bumper or on the tailgate. So you had that one. And then we also had one yesterday where a guy has been arrested, put in jail. He's out on bond now. But he sent threatening emails to the Office of the Attorney General for Indiana that I probably can't go into here because of the language. Well, he used a word let me try to.
What did it start? What letter did it start with?
Start with a D, but he wanted to end people at the Office of the Attorney General for taking his.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's really becoming a fevered pitch. I mean, I'm seeing more and more, and I mean, you've reported on it who knows how many times, the custody exchange deletions, the all the different things that happen as the government continues to pinch fathers mostly. We're getting to the point where we're breaking, we're done, and we're seeing that more and more to today in Indiana.
I've always tried my best when talking about this or advocating whatever we were doing to try to keep the tempers cool. Because this is something that emotions are super high, and I understand why they're high. There's not much more that you could mess with in someone's life to piss them off more than the issues that we talk about here.
Right.
So the fact that this isn't happening more situations like that kind of blows my mind, because I think it's going to continue to get worse and worse. Mm-hmm. Because as we see, as time goes by, these situations aren't getting any better. And we've even got more laws set to screw dads in your state. You're leading the charge like you always do. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But man, I'm surprised that we haven't saw more and more situations like that already. And I fear that it's going to come. I hope that I'm wrong. But I don't think I will be.
No, it's going to get worse as they continue to push fathers. Again, we'll get into some of the Texas bills alone. Ohio's got a big one coming down. I mean, all the different states are doing different things, and they don't care about the people.
You was telling me about that the other day. What's going on in Ohio?
Ohio, and also reported on it, so you can actually read the bill on the channel. They are 95 times they have removed the judges and attorneys have put a bill out there that's going through that they removed the phrase shared parenting. 95 times in this bill, they removed the words shared parenting, equal shared parenting from the bill. They're basically, when you read the bill, they are removing parents, both parents, not just dads, but both parents, and pushing it to the government, making the government responsible for children. It's crazy. And it's going. I mean, it is moving quickly through the Senate.
Is it a Republican or Democrat heading that up?
I believe it's a Republican. Well, that's, yeah.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a hardcore conservative. I know you you have conservative leanings, and the biggest lie is when people tell you that conservative or Republicans care about families. They don't.
About dads specifically.
About dads. I'm sorry, about dads. Yeah,
they talk about the nuclear family and the problem with the fatherless crisis, but all they do is make laws and screw it up for dads every single day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They care about money. I mean, just what little I've been able to do in Texas alone, Texas being a big state, and of course the one I'm from, I spend a lot of time there. The things that they're doing and getting away with and hoodwinking people on is ridiculous. And all I can do is report on it, and hopefully the people wake up.
Well, and why he's saying that, guys, do me a favor if you're watching this real quick. This guy has been working hard for several years trying to get his YouTube channel going. And in between, when I'm taking my breaks and stuff, Dewayne is steadily posting content out there. Get over there on Pissed Off Parent. He needs 20 more subscribers to break that magic 1,000 number. Get over there and subscribe. And he's been putting out a lot of content, guys. A lot of these situations you're talking about, he's been reporting on them. But one of the things that we talk about behind the scenes a lot, Dewayne, is something that Dave just brought up. He said, where's Trump at in this mix? We were just talking about this before we went live. Yeah. And I want to hit on this because, I'll be honest, man, when I got to do what I got to do over the last several years, I really got to see what goes on behind the scenes. And I'll give you a view of this that you're not going to see on the news. You're not going to see anywhere else, but it's going to be the truth. And it's not what the bowel movement is going to want to hear.
Yeah. Grab your hankies, grab your Kleenex and your hankies and get prepared to cry a bunch, guys.
Dude, Trump has so much going on. He's trying to prevent World War III. Then with the tariffs and stuff like that, that I don't think anything to do with these issues are on the radar. I've seen something about Doge is going to get involved and all this different. I don't believe any of that. Right now, we are not politically in the position to offer much for them. We don't have funding. Our people aren't set up to help with voting and campaigns. I watched the best candidate I've ever seen that ran for office, to me, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. He was running for governor of Texas. That guy had stuff about parental alienation, Title 4D, child support reform, CPS reform. I think he wanted to abolish CPS.
Yeah.
This was all on the front page of his gubernatorial campaign. And we couldn't even get people to go and knock on doors or share the broadcast. So right now, we are not set where we need to be to get them more involved. Do I think he would care? Absolutely. Before one of the political things happened several years ago, I was set to have a meeting with him at his golf club. Right. We were going to have a roundtable visit. Most people don't know about that because the next week, as this was being talked about, they raided Mar-a-Lago. And this was when he wasn't president. So there has been several times that we've gotten very, very close. I spoke at his golf club up there in Jersey, but we have got to, in order for them to do something for us, we've got to be able to do something for them. And our movement wants, but they don't do that what is needed in return for it to happen. And I honestly believe in the political arena already. I think it's the wrong place to be fighting this cause. Even if you can change laws, the way that this society and this country looks at fathers right now really is worldwide. They're not ready for it, man. We have been the scapegoat for everything, guys. They hate dads. They just do. I've sat there and watched numerous cases where dads were killed going to get their kids, guys, where the murderer was not indicted. Not even a slap on the hand. The Tyrone Darling case.
Down here.
Nothing ever happened. They didn't even indict his killer. And we know who the killer was. There was nothing else that was needed. He got killed on his way to work, pushing his daughter in a stroller by his ex and her girlfriend in broad daylight. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. That's what's going on. So we're to think that you're going to change something like that in the political arena until we change that stereotype that's been put out there about fathers, the deadbeat father. I think you're fighting a losing battle. I really do. I think they'll allow certain legislation to get through, but is it going to be that which makes a difference is the key.
Yeah.
We got a guest on here, Dewayne. I see you in the back.
Oh, Morgan. Jeffrey Morgan.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, guys? Sorry, I'll tell you what. All I remember is Steve Jobs telling Bill Gates that he needed to take a hit of acid for his software. And I have a MacBook right now. I'm like, I haven't taken a hit of acid. I have never had a hit of acid. Probably why it gives me so much problems. But anyway, I'm still getting stuff set up here, but I thought this was going to be quick and easy. So sorry, I'm 15 minutes late.
That's all right. Oh, I love that down there from Taryn Champagne. He said the Godfather,
yeah,
Mr. Jeff Morgan. Hey, dude.
Hey, I bought a shirt. It says the man, the myth, the legend, but I had to buy it for myself.
Dude, it's been a rough month for you, Jeff.
It has been. It has been a very rough month. It's been
Just
a very
wanted to
rough
get on
year.
there and connect with you. I know yesterday was your first Mother's Day without your mom. I don't even think it's been a week since she's passed, has it?
No, she passed it's been about a week.
Right at it.
Last Sunday, about 6:53 p.m. Eastern time. And the one thing about that, Eric, that was the first day that I actually climbed up into bed with her. I was always staying away from her, but that Sunday, I climbed up in the bed with her. And I was actually talking to you just before I was going to go back in. And I said, hey, let me get back into the room. And I went in there and climbed up on the bed with her and was holding her head, whispering to her how much I loved her and things like that. And then my stepdad came in, put his hand on her leg. I saw her eyes get big and she passed. So she died in my arms.
We had just got off the phone.
Just got off the phone. Yeah, like
literally. Me and Jeff just got off the phone. Not even 5 minutes later, he's texted me.
Yeah. So it was extremely. It was one of those things that, there were a couple of times this year. I've been back up to Erie, Pennsylvania, where I'm from, 3 times right now this year. All my vacations were going up there. Went up there at the end of January. I was up there for about a week and a half in February, something like that. And then I was back up there in March. My mom had had some type of infection or something, and they had to give her a pacemaker. And I just kept on thinking, oh no, I'm not going to make it back in time. Well, I made it back in time. And then she looked really bad at the beginning, but then she was rallying and she was eating, she's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to do it for you. Because, there was something about me being there that just kept her going. So she was gaining weight and stuff like that. And I wrote to my bosses at work. I said, I feel like when I leave here, I'm going to be giving my mom a death sentence. And then 3 weeks later, I was going back up again. And it turned out that my mom fell in hospice. She was walking. She loved to walk, but I think she just fell and she hit her head. And I don't know what all happened from there, but it went downhill pretty fast. The one thing is I was able to get emergency leave. I flew back up there. The plane ticket was actually really reasonable this time. And $163. My brother picked me up in Cleveland, got up there, had some connections with my mom for a little bit. And then I think, I think it was probably 2 days, maybe 3 days later, you could see that it just wasn't there. But she reconnected with my youngest daughter. And anybody knows my youngest daughter, I haven't really seen her much in 10 years. There was an incident that took place that I'd been falsely accused over and it just broke my heart, did a lot of things. But I told somebody to reach out to my daughter and she got on and she was crying, talking to my mom and said, let me go grab the kids. I'll be right back. Tell grandma to hang on. So anyway, we've been talking since then. And one other thing that, I don't talk a lot about, but I have a little bit. My stepdad has been estranged from his 3 children. And, so last June he had a stroke and I reached out to his oldest daughter. I was just saying, let's see what happens. And so for about the last 11 months, I've been texting her. Occasionally I've called her and just talked about your dad. And I think it was in January, they started to reconnect a bit. So they've reconnected, I think 3 times at this point. And there's a lot of, when you're going for 40 years almost of not seeing a person, there's a lot of questions in the back of your mind and everything, but at least there's something there. My stepdad, I think though, like my mom, his world is getting small really fast. It's just falling in on him. But anyway, go ahead.
What I was going to say, man, obviously we wish it was under different circumstances, but you say it's been 10 years since you had contact with your daughter, seeing her there, connecting with your mom and in those final moments. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was huge. My mom sat up and she's putting her finger on the phone like she's trying to reach my daughter and touch her face. And I don't know. I mean, it was just, I was watching this, and this was the only person she did this for. So last year, I think, some of you know that I took a month off of work. I'm like, why do we always take bereavement leave? Why don't we take sick leave with our family while they're still here? No good after they're gone. Take it while they're here. So last year, I took sorry, I'm going to get.
No, you're good, bro.
Yeah, it's all good.
But I mean, I took a month off of work, and, I brought my mom down here for 2.5 weeks, and I don't have any regrets. In fact, if anything, it's the best thing that I could have done. Like in a lot of parent-child relationships, there are times when the relationship is severed. Well, for the last few years, I've really done everything that I could, I think, to make sure that, you overlook some of those things. You work with, your parents who you are. You have to forgive. You just do whatever you can to reconnect with your parents. And, just kept on saying, love your parents while they're here. Hold them while they're here. Things happen when parents get older. And I don't think we give a lot of thought to really what happens. You cannot, when your parents get older and the relationship reverses where you become the parent in a sense and they become the child, they may not be able to draw, the same, what happened to you in the past. They don't have recollection of, and they can't say like this caused this or something like that. You have to let it go. You have to say, like I talked when I was talking with my, with my stepdad's daughter, I said, right now you're the parent. You can either parent him the way that you felt he parented you, or you could parent him the way that you wish you would have been parented. We have that choice to make. And if you're trying to get revenge, if we're trying to say, I didn't like them because of this, I'm sorry. I think that's just where we need to grow up. And, things change. We don't expect a 5-year-old to act like a 20-year-old. And when you're watching your parents get older, especially when they're having dementia, you see the regression in the childhood.
That's and a great point, man.
I think that was both it was something, I hate it. I hate the whole thing about what was taking place. But Eric, there was something else that took place there. My mom, I had to change my theology. So what I was saying is that, I'm a Christian. I want people to come to Christ. I want to believe in Jesus, follow Jesus. But there's another thing too that Jesus said, unless you accept the kingdom of heaven as a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And as I started to see my mom progress backwards, I thought maybe this is also, even in the midst of all this evil, this suffering, this grief, that maybe there's a mercy of God in there, that maybe she's forgotten part of her past, and maybe she's regressing into a childhood that she can now, turn to Christ with the faith of a child. And that's actually what happened. And Eric, I went back up to Pennsylvania afterwards. Sorry if I'm talking too much. If I need to stop.
No, you're good, bro. You're good.
But I remember we went to a Greek food festival. I'm like, okay, Greek food festival, Greek Orthodox Church. Yeah. But the interesting thing is when we're down there and we're talking with people, and we went inside the church, and I'm not an Orthodox, I'm not Catholic. I don't even know what I am anymore. If I could go into that as well, but I am a person who believes in Jesus Christ. And what I did is I looked at the ceiling and I thought, I'm talking to my mom. I said, Mom, look at the ceiling. Look at all these paintings up there and stuff like that. And they had 10 scenarios, cameos from the life of Christ. And I showed her, how Jesus was born and presenting to the table, and his baptism, and, raising Lazarus from the dead, all of these different things, his crucifixion, his resurrection. And I said, this is a story of Jesus Christ. And sat down with her and I said, Mom, I know you don't, when I was young, I watched Billy Graham. You introduced me to Billy Graham. And later on, I gave my life to Jesus. And my children have done so. And Carissa, my daughter's asking me, said, Dad, is Mom going to be going to heaven and joining us? And I turned to her and I said, Mom, we all want to see you there. Will you come, or are you going to come and be there with us? And do you want to do that? And she said, yes. And I mean, now granted, we prayed and everything, and there's nothing magical about a prayer. But Eric, I felt like, for me as a person, as a son, for so many years wanting to see her come to faith in Christ, and then to have this opportunity, it gives me some hope that I will be seeing her again. Because, there were things that happened at various in our lives that, you can be a good person, but good people by themselves don't get to heaven. They still have to believe in Christ and everything. And I think that, it gave me some hope. The next day we went back to the church. That was a Greek speaking church. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on there. My mom felt exactly. It's Greek to me too, baby. And I actually studied Greek in Bible college. So anyway, but not the spoken language. But anyway, it was one of those things that, we don't talk about a lot about as fathers, what we experience with our parents.
Nope.
And, especially when they go downhill. I mean, we talk about protecting our children. We talk about protecting our families, but our parents are also another place that we need to be showing who dads are and that we're protecting and loving and caring for our parents. So I think that the last few years, I think that was something that went relatively well for me. I'd have no regrets, no shame, anything like that. So again, I would tell anybody here, first off, I mean, if you're alienated or estranged from your parent, please take the efforts, try to make things right. It may mean you swallow your pride. It may mean that you can never tell somebody, you did this to me and therefore I'm like this. Let it go. What you have right now is an older person.
Does nothing for you, man. Change you down.
It does nothing for you. And then you're like, why would we let this time go by? You could wait to the very end and then at the last breath, if you're there, make something right. But I mean, enjoy the time. And the last 2 years or so with my mom, it's the best time in our adult life. So like I said,
funny how that happens.
Yeah. And I mean, even my stepdad would say, you're like, when you're here, it changes. And I found out my two brothers and my sister, actually, they're all half brothers and half sister. Now that's another story in itself. They said, you're the favorite. And I saw this picture of my phone that my mom had. She had a cell phone like this, right? Similar to this, except on the back, she had a picture of me cut out. And they said, she carries your picture on her phone. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that. But anyway, it's just one of those things that with the sorrow, with everything else that's going on, love your parents. And we need to teach our children, love their grandparents. Because if we're not modeling this for them in those relationships, don't expect them to do the same to you later on. So make sure, we talk about people going through divorce and stuff like that. I mean, make sure mom, dad, whatever, make sure children have relationships with both parents. Make sure they have relationships with extended family. Make sure that you do the best that you can by them. Don't take it, I'm going to show them who's who and what's what and everything. It will come back to haunt you and it hurts your children. So anyway, I'm a little off on, I'll get off on that for right now.
No, you're good, man. It kind of sums up beautifully a lot of what no stranger to anybody like that. I haven't been on much. I've talked to you and Dewayne about it. I've been helping take care of my father-in-law. Me and the wife have. That is something I'm wanting to add to Dad Talk because you're completely right, and it's like life goes full circle. When we're a kid, our parents are taking care of us, and as we get older, we're the ones taking care of them. And I'll be damned, if my mom or her parents are alive, we're going to be taking care of them. That's not going to be for a nursing home or anybody to do. And my father-in-law, he's suffering from severe Parkinson's disease. And not long ago, I had the honor of had a meeting with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I'm sure everybody knows Michael Fox, Back to the Future, one of the favorite movies of all time. And he's been suffering from Parkinson's disease for like 40 years. The one my father-in-law has, though, he's a retired first sergeant, 24-year vet. It's much more progressive, much more intense, and just seeing like how it's taken his ability to do all of the things that he loves. He can't do any of the things that he once did, Yeah. And our parents need us during those times, man. Those are the ones that was there for us. You need to be there for them. And one thing I'm learning more and more as I get older, this life is very limited. It's like each time you hit that new decade, when 20s, it sped up, 30s, it sped up. Now I just hit my 40s and doggone, dude, I feel like it was just Christmas. And the days are just flying by, dude.
Right.
It goes by too fast to hold on to that resentment and stuff. So,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear about your mom too, man. I know that was had to be rough. There is something with Jeff that I just found out, as much as me and him talk, which, I mean, let's be honest, we just got to connect about a month ago. We used to talk every day. That was one of the things that we lose track sometimes. And I didn't realize it had been so long since we talked, and I want to apologize about that. I need to be better about keeping in touch with people. It's a promise. It's just because of a busy life, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think that's those are some things, definitely some conversations to go in there. Because I mean, even like when I was talking to you about that last stage in life, how many times have you heard guys talking about losing a parent, like the process of losing a parent? It'd be great to hear from other guys what that would be like, so you kind of know what to expect, but it's just not something that we normally do.
No. And the thing is, I look back right now, Eric, and I've said, okay, you don't spot it immediately, right? You kind of know it's there. It would, so to me, the way I described it is like they were, I don't know, like they were going downhill and then they fell all at once. I mean, it was like going down, then it was a decline. I was like, what just happened? And I remember talking and said, how can the decline keep getting worse? And
it can.
It can. And the thing is, and you can't wait. You can't wait. Like I said, when I was up there in March, I was about ready to drive up. I had to get up there so quickly, but I was able to get a flight and stuff like that. And I'm like, playing, God, please let me see her. Please let me see her before she passes. And like I said, by the time she got there, she started to roll around. And then when she saw me, she wasn't eating or anything. And then she started eating, right? And I'd go up there and eat breakfast with her, lunch with her, supper, anything I could. I didn't hit all 3 meals every day, but a lot of them. And in the back of my mind, Eric, I'm counting calories because she was skinny. And I'm like, okay, chocolate milk, that's 250, I mean, just like ding, 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 ding. So I'm trying to count up the calories to say, is she getting calories? Well, after 7 days, she ate, and I didn't care if it was what it was, just to get something in there, right? And so she was starting to look healthy again. And she was like, I'm doing this for you and everything. But I will tell you, when I went back the second time after the fall, same thing. I mean, I had that connection with her for a couple of days, but wow, it was not the same person. And we can't think that we're going to always have tomorrow. We don't always have tomorrow. And, what I will say, is that I felt like, at least for the most part, I was there the best that I could be. I mean, I still had to work. I was down in Dallas and everything else. I wanted to bring her back down. I'm like, how can I bring her back down to Texas? Because she loved Texas. She got down here. She loved Texas. She loved my dog, Bo. She just loved it. She had first couple of days, she's like, I don't think I should be here. I don't think I should be here. I want to go home. I shouldn't be here. And then, but that was the memory that kept her going for a lot of this last year, was being in Texas. I'd call her and she said, are you coming to pick me up? And then she said, can I come down there? I want to hitchhike down. And I mean, and we couldn't do it, obviously, because she still needed the 24/7 care. But, we made that memory. And
awesome, man.
Yeah. And what I also, go ahead.
Oh, I'm glad you guys got a chance, or you have had the chance to spend time with your family and all that, and have those memories. And I can tell you from the other side of things, that it's a regret that I'll always hold on to. So it's good that you guys were able to spend that time.
Yeah. And
this is one of the worst things you can go through, man. Losing a parent. It's
right.
And it's one of those things, that we go through.
Yeah.
Well, I know, Eric, that you have tattoos. I don't know about Jeff. I've never,
no tattoos. No tattoos.
You're clean.
He's got his ex-wife's name on his butt.
Yeah, no, I have nothing like that. Look, I hold myself to the same standards that some of these guys hold women to. So no tats.
Well, for me, and you'll see it on the Pissed Off Parent, people have went there and like, what the hell is that anchor? And I wanted to, this is the only ink I have. And it's for my dad and my grandma. Those were the two people that raised me. So my dad was in the Navy. So that's where the anchor came from. That's where you see on the logo. And then there's a needle and thread here. My grandma was a seamstress. So that had that. And then, of course, the important folks in my life up here. But that's, that's kind of how I memorialized my family. And for those that are like, why the hell is there an anchor on the pissed off parent logo? Mystery solved.
Yeah,
it's my way of honoring my father and my grandmother. There's an anchor and a needle on the logo. It's kind of hard to see the needle just because it's thin, but that's why it's there.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, guys, I'm glad we can catch up on that. There is one thing I was waiting for Jeff to get on here for us to talk about. This is a very, very sore spot for Dewayne and I, because as many of you may know, if you follow Dad Talk, we have talked about this 3-4 years ago and said that this was coming down the pike. And it said, I guess that was one of the other reasons it felt like checking out there for a while, because I don't know what else we could have done to warn people that there was something coming down the pike, and that is going to screw dads in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. And right now it's going on in Texas, but make no mistake, this is a plan that they have to go nationwide.
It's already happened in Kansas, because I know what you're talking about. It already happened in Kansas.
Yep.
There's a few other places, but I'll go ahead and do the reveal of what's coming to the Lone Star State.
Retroactive child support, guys. They want you to start paying child support the second that the mom says that she's pregnant. And not only is that screwed up, and I think that's the Republicans' way of saying, okay, we're not going to allow you to have abortion. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the dad pay an extra 9 months of child support. I think that's the image they're going to try to portray for the public.
Right.
We know in reality, that's an extra 9 months of Title IV-D money that they're going to be collecting. That's the real reasoning behind it, but they always got an image to put out there. But the worst part about this, guys, is the mom has the ability to say who the dad is, and she does not have to take a paternity test if she does not want to.
Yeah.
This is actually happening in the state of Texas. They have been trying to do this for a very long time, and it's very weird how they do this. Marco Rubio was one of the original authors of it down there in Florida. But his bill said that there would be a paternity test.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you had Kevin Kramer that put in one, and that's where it came without the paternity test. But there were several states trying to bat this through at one point in time, and Texas was one of the states they was really wanting to start it off in, because once you got Texas, you can just like they did with no-fault divorce and spread it across the country.
California out. Well, the thing that you've been reporting on it, I've done it till I'm just blue in the face, is this is going to impact kids. Well, it's going to impact everybody, but kids most of all, because what happens, and I'm hoping people that are watching will absorb the words, because this really pisses me off. Their numbers, not mine. Every person, think of a 17 or 18-year-old kid that gets nailed with this. He's going to get these are their numbers, not mine, $10,000 judgment on their credit report immediately, 6% interest, because we all know that 3% thing ain't happening. And if they don't pay, they go to jail. So, but the thing people have to understand is going on their credit report right out of the gate, in addition to their monthly obligation for child support.
So I hate this bill. When I saw that Rubio presented it, he was at a conference. There were some people at a conference in Florida that I wanted to go to. I couldn't quite make it. Eric, we were traveling all over the place, and we were like
all over the place,
gone all the time. And but I wanted to go down there to say this is one of the worst bills in the world. Why do I say this? Because last session, Jeff Leach had this bill, and Jeff Leach is the white knight of the Texas House. I mean, here he comes, the white knight, coming to rescue all. Well, the funny thing is some lady has sued him. It's cost him $300,000 or something like that. So the white knight stuff doesn't work all the time. Sorry about that. And also, too, I think that they ought to start naming legislators as the father, and just let them.
They got his last name right.
Yeah.
Well, and he's a slick little, what? Because
yes, he is.
Last week, because they were supposed to have the hearing for the bill on Monday. And what they did on late Friday at like 10 o'clock, they canceled that meeting, replaced it with a new bill. So everyone's comments were deleted. So then nobody opposed it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we had 7 people show up, 6, and I say show up in the comments. 6 were for it, and Taryn Champagne was the only.
I was going to say, make sure you bring the guy up.
Oh yeah,
I heard he was one of the only ones.
Taryn was the only one that came and talked about the bill to their face, because they didn't even read any of the comments.
Yeah. And they don't really, and here's the problem with some of these people as well. Like I've talked with Taryn about this. We know we are really the experts on what goes on in family courts. They pass bills that they don't even know what they're passing. You can be the chair of a committee. Brian Hughes, Senator Brian Hughes was the chair of the committee. Taryn spoke to him afterwards, and Brian's like, well, I didn't even know about this. Okay. So we have legislators who are making laws that will affect the entire population of Texas, and they don't know the basic facts. We've been in there, we've been watching it, we've been to numerous court hearings, we've talked among the community and stuff like that. And they kind of dismiss us because we aren't an attorney. We aren't somebody with power behind our names. We're not a representative. We're not, a senator or something like that.
There's not enough of us to cause a concern. Now, I reported on this last week. You can watch the video on Pissed Off Parent. We've got, I don't know if you saw it, we've got reports of legislators pushing pass or fail on other legislators' boards.
So I saw that. Yeah,
you got a guy.
Fraud upon fraud. It's just fraud. I mean, I cannot believe it's unethical conduct. It's fraud. I mean, I don't even want to go there. But I mean,
then today we heard Texas is going to chop your balls off if you don't get it.
Yeah,
that is crazy. Because we just got a comment down here that said, "Make vasectomies free and reversible. Government can pay for them." Well, the state of Texas wants to do just that.
Yeah. So
HB 4492.
So here's the deal. I mean, that's a very excellent comment, and the reason I say that is because there are things that we could do if we wanted to stop unwed pregnancies.
42% in Texas, by the way.
Yeah, but
it's a catch-22, man, because our birth rate is the lowest it's ever been, and we've got huge problems coming from that.
But the problem,
the whole family structure has been blown to pieces.
Right. The government has been involved in destroying the family. It's the family destruction industry. And even like with Leach's bill last time around, I said, where is the marriage incentive? All it is, it's a financial incentive. Let's say, at the very least, put something in there, because we know this, the best anti-poverty program that we can put into place is for a child to be reared in a household with a mother and a father, period.
Hands down.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But what they do, we have to collect some child support. And it's always in a situation like this, they are incentivizing promiscuous single women. That's what it is.
Where is the incentives for marriage?
They aren't there.
We don't have any. We get new incentives several times per year for divorce to make sure that we stay the country with the most single family households that are predominantly led by mothers. But where are the incentives for that nuclear family that these Republicans claim they are about?
Right.
That was what really got me down and out again. Yeah, Jeff, you went to many of those places with me. We've been all over this country talking to these people. And I found out every year it seemed like we was having the same conversations and there wasn't much action going on. It was a bunch of virtue signaling.
Right.
I feel like we have been fighting in the wrong arena altogether.
Yeah.
I really do. And if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. And what did they call that?
Insanity.
Yeah. But Eric, I'm going to say, as long as you're talking about this, we have to look at the churches as well. And I'm sorry to say this is a little bit off topic of what we're normally talking about, but many churches are pathetically weak. And I mean, was going to a Bible church here.
No, I'm right there with you on that.
Church is a waste. They are the bunch of the feminized. Yeah. Now, what's weird is that young people, Gen Z, is actually now going back to church.
I know. I
I'm a
know.
little shocked at what they're going to find, but the church has been one of the worst institutions for the sanctity of marriage, sanctity of the conservative way of doing things.
Some of the biggest simps out there.
Oh my gosh, it is ridiculous.
We want you to pray to God the Father and obey him, but we're not going to talk about the Father in the home.
Oh God, no.
No, it's covert feminism.
Here's something else. I mean, I use ChatGPT. I think Eric, you do. I'm sure Dewayne probably does too. But
what's that? What's ChatGPT?
I've never heard of it.
I'm not into technology. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there you go. So the funny thing is, it's artificial intelligence, but at least for me, it is much more biblical than the churches. I mean, I have put scenarios in front of them and they're criticizing the church. There was one, again, this is Dallas Bible Church in Dallas, Texas, on Hillcrest.
Six Flags Over Jesus.
Yeah. But I mean, I said, here's a scenario. Please grade the elders' response. Well, basically with all due respect, there was 4 component grades and a composite grade. Every single one was an F. And they gave a reason, and ChatGPT gave a reason why. It's from the Bible. And I mean, this is a church that says Bible is our middle name. Well, I got mad at them and I wrote to them and I said, your middle name should be Babel, like in Psychobabble, because it's not Bible. And ChatGPT, I mean, I took over the stuff to ChatGPT and they're like, they get an F.
I really thought that our AI conversation was going to go in a whole different direction. Now starting to get excited.
Oh, you're ready to talk about the sex robots.
That, we all have different things, different rabbit holes that we go down, but I'm like, this is insane, the stuff that's going on today. And like you said, I mean, I saw that, yes, there are people, the younger people are turning to Christ. I just hope that there's something there for them to turn to, within the church. Look, I became a Christian when I was young, and, Dewayne, I was like in high school, stuff like that. We actually used to have home Bible studies. I mean, we'd pray, very much involved with this stuff. I'd be up in the morning before going to work, reading the scriptures on my knees and praying, and come back after that and everything else. We were seeking God. But today you go to a church and I don't know that anybody seeks God.
The Texas churches, I'll speak for Texas. I have been kicked out of more Texas churches and lost my cool with them because they're stupid. They teach the Six Flags Over Jesus, that God is love and it's all good and blah blah blah. Doesn't matter what you do, and the Bible, the verse told me something. It's a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
One of the worst places I think that a struggling couple can go through is Christian marriage counseling.
Hands down.
I tell them all the time, if you're having problems in your marriage, stay away from the church, stay away from those Christian marriage counselors. Because if you're wanting your marriage to stay together, they don't have the greatest track record. They don't, guys.
Avoid it like a gas station burrito.
And it's horrible to say that because it should be the exact opposite. That should be the place that you go to. But it's just not that way. I know,
compromised for a long time because, the issue of I've talked about no fault divorce. No fault divorce is anti-Christian. It's not unchristian. It's anti-Christian. It goes directly against the teaching of Jesus. A man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. The two shall be one. What God has joined together, let no man separate. Let no court separate. Let no church say, oh, it's okay if they just walk away from each other.
Until she takes half your crap.
Yeah, exactly. I know. and they support this stuff. But we have been so wishy-washy. And I don't want to speak vulgarly, so I'll say that if a church had a
penis, can we just go ahead and get it out of the way? Limp penis?
I'll just say spine, okay?
There we go. You know what? We talked about 2 different things that lead to the head. Okay, great.
It's just like, I just cannot believe where is the courage that should accompany the profession of faith in Christ? And you don't have the courage, you compromise.
That is the problem with organized religion. It looks nothing like the Bible. It really doesn't, man.
The church has had balls chopped off.
Yeah.
Well, now
dude, one of the things that pissed me off the most, I'll pick on the churches there in Texas too. I'm not trying to do the whole episode on, Texas specifically though. But when I was at the Capitol there in Texas in Austin, and fighting against the bill or fighting for the bill to ban these transgender surgeries on kids.
God.
And then fighting for Jeff Younger, who's fighting to make sure that his boy can stay a boy. And I'm looking around, I'm like, where is the church?
Not there.
Every one of those churches are asking him to come and be a speaker, right?
Yeah.
They want you to speak about it. They want you to talk about it. That gets views. But where the hell were you when it mattered? The influence that they could have had, the resources, everything else behind it. And they did not show up. And I'll tell you, it's no different than what we go through with the politics. If they get involved, they're going to lose that nonprofit status. Right. They're going to have to pay taxes. And they said, nope. I believe in God's word, and we'll fight unless I'm going to lose that. Then we're going to back off a little bit. I could not believe the cowards out there that could, if you cannot stand for that, a little boy who they are wanting to castrate, you can't stand for that. What the hell can you stand for, man?
No, that, yeah.
And I'm not a guy that claims to be in that, by no means, but still, like, this is what you're supposed to be advocating for here. You're supposed to be leading the flock, and you're sitting there and allowing this to happen. And the next thing you know, it's going to be somebody else in your congregation. You're allowing it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are useless in many ways.
And some of the churches, and I mean, I've been shocked about this too. I mean, the churches that can't speak to moral issues because it could become political and we might offend somebody.
We're confused. You're like, what?
There was somebody who was asking about talking more about the Texas bills. So there are several ones going down the pike. I know there's another one. Was it the Kyle Carruth bill? Jeff Morgan, you want to talk about that one?
You mean the murderer bill? And I mean, they're trying to portray Kyle Carruth as a murderer. In my opinion, it's just said, you can't say that. Well, he is a murderer. But and because I interviewed the wife of the man he murdered. And we saw the footage. He is a murderer, and they're trying to portray him as a hero. Oh, Kyle Carruth is this great hero. He's fighting for our Second Amendment rights. He should be in jail. Any senator, any representative who is passing this bill, any organization, and I've talked to some of these organizations, and they're like, well, we really don't know what happened. Bullshit.
Bullshit. The whole thing was on video.
You don't hear me say that very frequently on the air. They know, well, you know what? 99.3% of these cases, we don't know what happened and they're not exactly what they were. It's plain as day. Kyle Carruth is a killer. And we're going to have the Kyle Carruth bill because we have to defend the Second Amendment. And our Taryn Champagne, where are you? Our flaccid legislators are going to go ahead and talk about this great victory that they had by passing the Kyle Carruth bill. He's a murderer.
Is that before or after Beyonce Day?
Oh, don't even get me on that. And,
and it's so dangerous, man. I would love when that comes up for them to hear from Tyrone Darlin's mom. I mean, because Chad's is a highly contested video. If anybody's seen it, Chad was irate. He was pissed off. Could have backed down a little bit. I'll be the first to tell you that. I don't know what the guy had been through, how many times he had been blocked. We watch him get shot right there on video, but there's people that are on the line about that. And that's why I always bring up that with Tyrone. No matter where you stand on it, you're going to pass a bill anyway. Let's go back to that for a second. A bill where a person killed a father, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. They are comparing him to Kyle Rittenhouse. But then you got this with Tyrone, again, going down the road, pushing his daughter in a stroller. He's going to work. Ex-girlfriend with her girlfriend that was claiming to be a guy at the time. Yeah, I know that gets a little confusing, but gets out, shoots him in the head, takes off. And guys, it goes to trial, and the grand jury did not indict them.
Yeah, I know.
They're getting away with murder. There's two fathers there in the state of Texas that there wasn't even a smack on the hand that got killed. And I don't want to call Tyrone's the custody exchange. That wasn't a custody exchange. They just killed him going down the road while he had his daughter. But then I have to bring up John Mast. Dude, Jim Brashear. Yeah, he's going to get 15 years, but he got voluntary manslaughter when we had a video of him saying, It was premeditated. I thought about it, and I went and did it. We had him saying point blank it was premeditated, gets away with manslaughter. How are we allowing these people to kill dads? And again, guys, there is no law that you're going to be able to pass that is going to clean up that stereotype.
Well, Eric, you know
that way of thinking.
You're just angry. You're just a bitter dad.
I know. I am angry.
I'm
a pissed off parent.
I know. Exactly. But I mean, this is what people tell you, like, you know what? You take a deep breath. No, what you ought to be doing is taking, I used to work in a prison system. I was a teacher in a place, but
should you be driving a truck through a building, which is what happened in Indiana today?
Yeah, I saw that.
Jeff, do you know about that one?
I saw about that one today, and I saw one of the comments like, what was that one guy, that the tank man or whatever it was, the guy that built that
the tank guy?
Yeah, I don't know what his name was, but I saw that. I'm like, well, yeah. And of course you don't want innocent people to die, but at this, and they said that there's something, I don't know anything about it. They said he was not the greatest person. I don't know, but I do know this is that what they are doing in our courts and with our legislators, they are destroying families, and they are actually creating the problem that they basically say, look at this, listen, the anger issue, the idea that you can take a child away from a parent, but, and just say, well, you're not allowed to see your child except on such and such a time. And also if the gatekeeper permits you to do so. You are the father, you are the mother. You should be able to do this. And our legislators and our judges and these corrupt family law attorneys who practice this, and the child custody evaluators, Alyssa Sherry being one of them as well, all of these people that are in there. I mean, if we were to have a purge, there are some people that should probably float to the top of the list. But
yeah, what's interesting,
half of your legislators are the attorneys, though.
Well, that's the other thing. Now, you do know that Shelley Luther reported, for those that are not in Texas, she was the lady that was arrested for going to work a couple years ago by a judge that put her in jail. But she let everybody know that the father's bill, the one that there's a bill right now, a resolution to make parenthood legal in Texas, that Jeff Leach has actually postponed that until Wednesday at best.
This is another one of this Jeff Leach white knight crap stuff. I mean, we're going to hear the bill. Look at Jeff Leach will always tell you whatever it was the most conservative session that it ever had in the history of Texas.
51 bills this session. Last session was 184, and then the one before that was 280 something. We've only passed 51 bills this session, and they're doing this on purpose. And this is nationwide. Texas is just, they've got it down to a science. Hell, you got Ohio. They're removing shared parenting from the legislature.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And the thing that pisses me off as the pissed off parent is we're letting it happen.
Yeah,
we're letting it happen.
We're letting judges write bills. Do you believe that?
Yes.
I mean, this is crazy. It's not just really
it's a sore spot, because again, I do like the first talk of this with that retroactive child support was 2 sessions ago, and your sessions go every 2 years. I mean, it was one session that got shot down because one of the Democrats played a trick on him.
That was last session. Yeah. That was hilarious, by the way. That
was hilarious. And I was proud for it. I really was. But I knew, I was like, that's not the last you're going to hear of it. And this is just something, they're not going to give up on that. And it's going to keep going. And these are the same ones that people are going to trying to get shared parenting bills and stuff like that. Wake up and smell the coffee.
It's a paper tiger. They've been doing it for 20 years. We got a bill that's sitting out there right now. It's never going to get heard because the same jackasses that are passing retroactive and everything else, they're the ones that are in charge of everything.
Yeah.
Get this through. They'll let things get through because this one over here, we know, right? I've seen some stuff, man, that I think like just to be on the positive side of this, there was an influencer, I'll put more of this out there later, but there was a kid recently that put his story out on Instagram and it just blew up. I mean, dude, tens of millions of views, and people were tuning in each week to see parts of the story. It got so hot that the governor and the people in his office in the state of Mississippi reached out to that guy saying, "We want to pass bills towards this." That's when you're going to get some action, and it only happened because now positions are being threatened. Now the awareness is out there, and they're feeling the heat from it a little bit. I think we've had this whole thing backwards for a long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, the governor reached out because he's worried he's going to lose his job because the culture has changed. Enough people have gotten involved. I mean, our bowel movement here, no one's doing anything. They're looking at shaking boobies all the time. It just pisses me off.
I mean, there's people. There's people doing stuff. It's the same stuff we've always done.
Yeah.
We're kissing judges' asses. We got people in the movement kissing judges and representatives' asses.
Well, didn't you say that like there's some stuff going on with like the judge that is the one that was completely responsible for Jeff Younger?
Blacklock, yeah. You've got people in the movement kissing his ass. Yeah. I'm just like, what the hell is going on with people? You got a guy that helped remove Jeff Younger's kid, Judd Blacklock, like on Blackheart or whatever.
Jimmy Blacklock. Yeah, and I actually talked to them directly about this.
And what's that Paul Knocker's comment? What's he got to say? Oops.
Well, I said he tried. So here's the with Jimmy. I've heard him say some things that he's really been sympathetic. He said what he had in front of him was all he could deal with. Now, the reality was the case that to me, I mean, he talked about Jeff Younger and Ann Georgelis being divorced. I said they weren't divorced. Their marriage.
And who's the only biological parent of those children?
Right. I said they were annulled. There's a big difference between divorce
and you guys judges don't understand that law.
Right.
They're morons.
But you have the Supreme Court justice who's writing an opinion.
That's too stupid to do it. That is too stupid to understand annulment and divorce.
And also that has his facts wrong. I said, you've got the facts wrong. How can you write this opinion when the facts that you are citing are incorrect? And the reason I know this, Dewayne, I was down there. I saw it. Yeah. I have a lot of the stuff. I mean, I downloaded stuff and everything else. I mean, I know what took place. I was at the UT Denton riot that took place. I mean, all of these different things. I saw it. And so we were at a Texas Values Policy meeting and I talked with him about it. And I think, I don't know. I agree with you. It's not just him. He wrote it. Evan Young used to work for Baker Botts LLP or LLC or whatever like that. They are a very strong law firm that advocates for LGBTQ rights. There's another lady, Deborah Lehrman, used to work for them. In fact, Evan Young worked for them prior to going to becoming a Supreme Court justice. I don't know that what area he was working in, but to me, the fact of the matter is that if you have a family law attorney or somebody who's used to work for this organization that's promoting LGBTQIA crap, that they should not even be allowed to give an opinion on a case involving LGBTQIA and sexual genital mutilation.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah. And there was only one guy who got it right, and that was John Devine. Now, and I love John Devine, but he was the only one, and he fought like crazy. But 8 of the justices were set against him. I mean, what do you do in a situation where 8 of the justices are like clueless? And I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Well, you got the same people like supporting these Supreme Court justices that they were. Everyone remembers Chris Cole. He's the one that had equal custody. The wife died, and they wanted to give the 4-month boyfriend
Chris Clay.
Yeah, Chris Clay. Equal parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the entire video on my page, and they're referring to him as the dad, the stepfather, the papa, or some other crap. And these Supreme Court justices are going along with it. I mean,
he spent to the tune of about $300,000 fighting it.
Exactly.
because he wanted to have additional children. But I mean, when you go through that, and the other thing was the guy that was doing this, that the mother's fiance was doing this at the behest of the grandparent, and Chris wanted the grandparents involved in the children's lives.
Well, the fact that this went to the Supreme Court and what they said and did was ridiculous.
And that judge who actually made such a lousy, stinking, rotten ruling, she got reelected.
That's why I always say, vote them out.
Yeah, well,
don't support them.
Yeah,
The Equal
but
Shared Parenting.
They're Republicans, Dwayne. They're Republicans.
The Equal Shared Parenting bowel movement should not be doing this crap. They should not be supporting these morons.
Yeah.
What they do, they kiss their ass and they said something nice about me. No. And that's where the people of Texas, all 33 million of us, need to get off our dead asses and do something.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the rest of the country. They need off their dead asses and do something. You got Ohio, they're literally removing shared parenting, the language out of the and you've got people don't give a shit, but they will. So when retro hits, like it didn't, I mean, in Kansas, let's pick on Kansas. The governor vetoed retroactive child support. They overruled her. It's like these people have no idea how much money and what's going to happen with them.
Yeah.
That retroactive is a nightmare.
Oh,
so
God.
what I would say is this, because here's what they ought to do. I mean, I would tell you, if we have women in our movement, have them name Jeff Leach as the father, have them name Brian Hughes as the father, have them name all the legislators as fathers. All of a sudden you have these legislators with 10 children, retroactive child support. And by the way, I don't want to have a DNA test done.
These idiots made the bill and it said the testimony of a parent.
Right. The mother.
Well, we don't want to assume anything when they say a parent.
Right. I know.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And the whole thing is that, they, like I said, they are, even the Christian legislators, some of them, not all of them, the Christian, what I call the conservatives, the Christian conservatives, they have helped, they've assisted in the destruction of the family. And the family is the primary unit in our society. God created the family before he created the church. And I mean, if you have a nation of broken families, you cannot have a strong nation. Same with the church, same with anything. And, look, some of these legislators down there, I mean, right now, Eric, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically the Democrats are running Texas in the House, even though the Republicans have won.
I haven't paid much attention to it.
We've got 51 bills. Again, last session was 186. By this time, we've got 51 only. And these dumbasses are spending their time on the Beyonce Day bill and making political memes illegal.
No, yeah, and taking 4-day weekends, long weekends.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Political memes are going to be illegal.
Yes, people that do political memes, whatever.
That's going to be struck out. There's just no possible way that can. I'm just saying that is going to pass, and that the courts are going to have to say, well, we have to look at it as being constitutional because a legislator passed it, so we have to somehow find some way to make it. Somebody will challenge it.
See, about all the scamming that our judges do, and then you say something like, oh, when they pass the bill, the judges are going to have to look at this and see that they're going to follow the Constitution. When the hell have they ever done that?
You have a point. I'm not denying.
It's like they lie and lie and lie and lie. Well, they're going to tell me the truth this time.
I know. I know exactly what you're saying. So maybe I misspoke there, but I just say it will go. Eventually, at least we have a decent enough Supreme Court of the United States that, and so the interesting thing about the Supreme Court of the United States, and this is where I've talked about a lot of times, like the issue of religious liberty, they have actually sided with religious liberty a lot. But anyway, so I would say put these memes out there and have it a religious-based criticism of a legislator, and then say, well, you're trying to restrict my religious liberty. You have to use the weapons against them. They're using these weapons against us. We have to do Aikido or Jiu-Jitsu against these people, in a sense that whatever they're trying to use against us, we have to use it against them and shove it down their throats and make them eat it.
When is the next hearing on that retroactive?
They've already had the one last week, and then it goes through the readings, and then it's good to go. I mean, I don't anticipate anything stopping it this time.
It
September
won't stop
1,
and Abbott will sign it.
in a heartbeat,
no doubt.
In a heartbeat. My whole thing is that it's just the way the country, the way everyone just goes after men. I mean, I reported on 2 recent things that happened. One, the guy out of Georgia who was arrested for allegedly kidnapping a little girl. We have video that shows that did not happen. I don't know if you watched that video on the Pissed Off Parent, if you want to see it there. Yeah. And he spent 6 weeks without bond in jail. We had a guy in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where you were at recently. He's picking on a girl, an employee there. A guy gets the usher comes up and says, "Hey, quit doing that." Some words are exchanged. He beats the crap out of him. The guy spit on him and he whipped him with his belt.
Yeah.
They had women that were coming out saying he should be fired. He was trying to protect a woman. And I'm like, this is why guys are checking out. This is the larger issue. We're checking out because we're not valued. We're everything that we're expected to come and save everybody, but we're the ones getting crapped on all the time. I mean, that's why we're checking out.
And then another thing I'm seeing with the conservatives, they're trying to attack anything with their pro-male message to it, or any father talking about the injustices of the family court or feminism or anything. Like the red pill community is specifically being targeted right now. Yeah. They're making it as Andrew Tate is the guy, right? Yeah. And so they're just making it look like anything to do with what we talk about is wrong. And I'm telling you, man, I think it's about to get much worse.
I've got a little bit of a different take on some of this stuff. Maybe Dewayne, you can back it up. Maybe Eric, the same thing. But I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Subservience. It's on Netflix. It's basically they have an AI robot that comes in to help a guy.
Oh, cool. We're coming back around to the thing I wanted to talk about. All right, cool.
Okay. Yeah. This is a conversation. This is a future episode. Let's go ahead and crack it open. It's been too long.
But what I think is going to happen is that, we will have humanoid robots among us. And I would say within 5 years or a lot sooner than that. And these robots, I mean, here's something that I was thinking about more recently, Dewayne. I know you're probably
ridiculous, but it's coming.
But what happens if, because Eric, we've talked about this loneliness being a big issue in our society. So what happens when you start to, maybe you get to the place that you say, this guy's really lonely. I'm going to buy him or buy her a humanoid robot. They won't know because they're going to be so lifelike and everything that they will have a relationship with this humanoid robot.
Can I put my PayPal account out now?
Go ahead, whatever you want to do.
The problem with that subject, dude, I talked about this 2 years ago. You can go back on Dad Talk. I've had episodes that specifically did this. There was people that laughed, thought I was crazy, and they still think this is ridiculous. Because let's be honest, on the surface, it sounds ridiculous. Right now, the birth rate is at an all-time low. I just got a very alarming statistic the other day. 50% of boys 24 and under have never asked out a girl.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Never even approached a girl in a romantic manner. They are checking out. They're going to video games. 90% of women are going after the top 10% of men. There's guys because they're not tall enough or they don't make enough money or they don't fit that. We can go to that whole thing. Most people already know what we're talking about. Right. And guys just are not engaging. Specifically Gen Z, they're going to church. There's a lot of them that have picked up on what's going on. But I think what you're going to see is when that loneliness comes in, everybody wants to love and be loved. And there is that one thing that's always gotten men into trouble, whether, David in the Bible or many others. There's that one thing that we are controlled by. It's our weakness. It's our kryptonite, sex. And when that need can be fulfilled and that person will not be rejected, it will know what you like, what you dislike. It will know how to connect. No kidding, guys. Go on Chat GPT, act like you're a person that's in trouble with your relationship, tell it everything, and watch what it comes back with. It is going to be super scary. And these kids, they are going to have no incentives to get in a relationship if they are getting those needs fulfilled. This will do what they want it to do when they want it to do it. And when they want to be left alone, they'll be left alone. If they want to play video games, instead of being told that they're not a man because they're playing video games, it'll probably play video games with them. You know, it's coming.
Cook everything. And you know, somebody sent me a speech from some guy a couple of days ago. He sent it to me, but basically he said, like, there's going to be these supercomputers that will have more knowledge than the entirety of humanity in existence.
They're already here.
I was going to say that was the next thing. You already know that these things are there. So, I mean, you know, they will know everything about you. Like you said, they will be able to know how to,
let's go in a whole other direction here. What do women have to offer?
Well, the same thing. I agree with you, but the same thing is going to happen to men too, because women are going to be able to get these from men as well. So, I mean, it's going to destroy everything.
As far as guys getting involved with girls, what does today's woman offer a man? And let me ask this a different way. Since you have some knowledge of the olden days, what did women provide to men back in the day? What was the thing they brought? Their chastity? Virginity, for those that don't know what chastity means.
Femininity.
Femininity. And I always do the
misogynist.
And know when to shut up. That's the
I hear misogyny.
Huh?
I hear misogyny.
Okay, well,
but you go to a lot of places.
We're not allowed to talk about this. They're allowed to talk about what they want in us.
But it's
not the other way around.
But if you talk about a rural area, what would happen? I mean, somebody would go out, they'd pitch together to work at the farm, but generally speaking, it was the mother who was there cooking the meals for the family. I mean, we
have that traditional piece, but those are the three things that guys looked for back in the day. What do women have to offer today? They all have a high body count.
How many of them have been offered virginity?
Yeah, they can't offer virginity.
It's not even much of a discussion anymore, honestly. I hear more guys talking about virginity and being celibate than I do on the other side.
Yeah.
So I hear, what I've also heard a lot and what I've seen a lot is that there are a lot of women coming out and talking about the issues now too. And I'm not saying
they are, dude. They are. Let me say something, because I think there was a lot that could be perceived as negative. A lot of this is negative. Let's just be honest. That's the reason we're talking. So it's a problem. But there is some positives. There is more people talking about the issues than we have ever seen. I see it on shows all the time. People talking about, the problem with feminism and the loss of masculinity in places I never would have thought it would have been a conversation. Right. We have the best opportunity that I think we've had in a very long time.
Right.
I just don't think it's in the legislation.
No, we're gonna have to get back. Like Ronald Reagan used to say, the best thing you can do is eat supper at the table, right? Talk with your kids there. Yeah. But we've destroyed the family because families don't have to stay intact. No fault divorce. You can destroy a family at will. A kid does not know what it's like in many instances. I remember being at CPAC, Eric. I don't know if you were there at that time or not, but we had the fatherless booth, and right beside it was a transgenderism booth.
You guys had to go that year because I had to go covering one of the murder cases.
Oh yeah.
Right. But I mean, what I was just saying, I said they had a picture of a family, but where the father was supposed to be, there was nothing there. So we'd say, what do you notice about the picture? The father's missing. Oh, so now you have children being brought up without a father. They're missing half of their identity. And I would also lead them over to the next booth. I said, so now we have people that don't know who they are because they're missing half of their identity. And here's the LGBTQIA stuff, and move them over there for the other people to talk about it. But the destruction of the family by our government, the Marxist destruction, the idea, this is like you said, Eric, this has been planned for ages. You
Oh,
look
God, yeah.
socialist, you look at Marx and Engels, you look at what Lenin did, you look at what Vronsky was talking about, all of these things. Destroy the family. It goes back to Plato. Destroy the families. The only thing that, children should be the property of the state. Well, the state is a pretty crappy parent. And the state, in order to assert themselves, destroys the family. And
Why do
then
you think people are asleep on this topic? I mean, I know you guys are talking about that people are talking about it and it's being talked about, but that needle doesn't seem to be moving at all.
Well, when I say that, I'm talking about like the lack of masculinity, the importance of a father, how feminism has went too far. Because let's be honest, the reason I think a lot of women are waking up and talking about this is because they aren't getting that type of man that they're wanting, because feminism has told men not to be that man, right? They think that's what they want until they get them. And then they're like, I don't want that type of man.
Right.
I mean, we have everything's gone ass backwards, but it has become a topic of conversation. But once it starts getting to that certain point, it's like, oh, now we're getting into the red pill stuff. This is misogynist and everything. It's like, why don't you listen to what we have to say instead of always painting us with that toxic masculinity, red pill, Andrew Tate type lens, which I'm going to be honest with you. I think Andrew Tate, 95% of his stuff, maybe even more, I'm good with.
Yeah.
Because the guy speaks truth. They just do not like to hear it.
Now, are you talking about women or are you talking about like the legislature? Talking about women, I would argue that's accountability, and women don't do accountability.
I'd say it really all across the board. Because I mean, a lot of the issues that we're going through with men are men's fault too. So I'd say they're just as much to blame as the women.
Oh yeah, yeah. When they use more care product than
sorry guys, love you, but I mean, it's just the truth. We've allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
So I remember Trevor Loudon. Trevor Loudon, he's a big anti-communist crusader. I spoke with him a couple of years ago at one of his events. We're talking about the issue of no-fault divorce and communist origins and stuff like that as well. He told me afterwards, he said, Jeff, there may be a silver lining to all of this. He said, when the communists did this and they wanted to try to build up like a communist man, they found out there was no raw material to work with. So Stalin actually had to try to reverse some of these policies because there was nothing to work with. And he said, it may get to that place in America where it becomes so bad that there may be an opportunity to actually start to address these issues. And that's where, I
believe that.
And I think that family and morality should be considered national security issues. Every town hall we go to, and I mean, you've seen me when I go to the town hall, they know what's coming. And, we need an army of people that would be doing that and just never back down.
To your point, Jeff, I mean, I think that's what we saw with the DEI and wokeness.
Right.
It got to that point, and it didn't look like we was going to get any relief anytime soon. And finally, it was America said, enough. You know, you still got the people that are, supporting it, but it's not like it was.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's very interesting you say this because I may have a lawsuit coming up because of being on the DEI. I mean, I won't go into that very much right now. maybe at a different time. I have to get some paperwork submitted.
Okay. So Jeff, what do you think that tipping point is? Because like what I've seen, and again, I've been tracking this for over a decade, so I'm not just kind of talking out my ass here.
Right.
Is that, when information comes out, no one looks at it. You're not changing minds. There are people talking about it, but there's not anything big happening. People will have a rally, 2 people show up.
Yeah.
So
I will tell you,
there's no fire.
I will tell you the other thing is that this is going to be very controversial, but they don't fear us.
Okay.
And so, it's like Jordan Peterson says, a weak man is, just a weak man. I mean, he's not a danger. What you want to have is a man who is capable of violence and can keep it under control. And this is going to sound, oh no, he's talking about this, that, and everything. I'm just saying we need to be men of conviction, of character, and we're willing to go to the mat for some of this stuff. And I'm not going to pretend that I know what all of those forums are there, but we've been indoctrinated. Like had been indoctrinated throughout the centuries, like good men don't do these things. Good men don't do these things. And I think that there are times good men should be up there and saying, hell no, we're going to be doing this stuff.
But a good man whipped those simps asses up in Pennsylvania that were harassing a girl, and look what happened. He got fired. He got shut down. He got women coming out of the woodwork saying that he was a bad person.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but I mean, I know. I hear what you're saying. So basically, the best way to do it is just keep your head low. I mean, and Dewayne, you know that some of us get ourselves in trouble more than we need to, perhaps, because we speak up. And
Right.
and then there were things, and people talk to me about various things in the past. And I'm like, I went back and I go back and forth on the whole thing, but I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, because the reality is these judges, the attorneys, the legislators, and other people, they do not fear us. And there needs to be a healthy fear. I mean, how was America founded? We revolted. There was,
I not to, to interrupt you, but I mean, I agree with that. And I think that's one of the reasons, one of the first questions that we got, and oddly enough, me and Dewayne were talking about before we went live, was like, where's Trump at? Why isn't he doing anything about this? And I was like, unfortunately, our movement isn't offering him anything to get behind. We got a cause, yes, but we don't have the support or the things that are needed for that action to happen. And yes, I know there is enough people affected by this for, we know it's there. We know the cause is righteous. But right now, you're absolutely right. They do not fear us.
Yeah.
Because they know that if they do it, we don't have much opposition.
We need to all be like the Russian soldiers in training or something like that. I mean, if you had a hand-to-hand combat with the Russian soldiers, I think a lot of us would get whipped.
You're telling me that one of the most controversial bills that I've heard of in years, and Taryn Champagne was the only one that was there?
33 million Texans.
That's sad, man.
One in person.
And they can't say it's not because people, I talked about it for years. You did too. Playing devil's advocate, I know not everybody's seeing that. But it was one of those, it's like, it's hard to continue to talk about when nobody's listening.
Right.
Dude, right. I could go talk about anything else in the world. Post a meme, people go nuts. But talk about something important. It was crickets, dude. And it's like, guys, when this comes, it's going to rock us like a hurricane. And I believe it's going to go through in Texas, and then it's going to start spreading across the United States, and then it's going to be the next bill to attack fatherhood. And it's a part of their plan. And I see the way that they're putting their sights on the red pill and father's rights community.
Yeah.
It's a part of the plan, man.
The angry father, the bitter fathers, the
angry fathers, the deadbeat fathers.
But and again, using the adjective in front of the fathers to deprecate them, and then using this adjectives to like elevate the promiscuous woman, the slutty, and I don't mean, I'm not saying for every woman or anything like that. Well, okay, yeah, but I'm just saying that there are things that if we have to, like, I wanted to know about the Mother's Day sermons yesterday in church. I mean, did anybody give a sermon about what is a good mom? And by the way, moms, a lot of you aren't living up to that value. But when Father's Day sermons will come out, they're going to be like, fathers, you fail here, you do this, you do that. And really, I mean, if we want equality, like they say, give them the same type of sermon. I mean, I really was planning to do my own. Maybe I still will, post Mother's Day. But I mean, mothers, you want to be a good mother? Here's some things that you should do. And a lot of people, a lot of you aren't. And I can do the same thing to fathers too. But I'm just saying, do these things. Don't you think that somehow by keeping a child away from your parent, that makes you a good mother, a protective mother, by filing for no fault divorce, or all of these things. And I look at it, Dewayne, because my mother passed just last week, and there were things that people said, your mother was great in that, and I'm like, she was a wonderful, wonderful grandmother. But there were times, honestly, as a mother, she and I talked to my brother and my sisters about that, my sister and my brothers about this, and like there were things that were not as good as they could have been. I'll just leave it at that. And but that was the culture back then. And
future episode, not to just drop this in the middle of nowhere, but Jeff, you found out the person you thought was your father was not your father.
Yeah, I know. Here we go. Here, you want to get? Yeah, I know. Boom. Exactly.
Drop the mic.
I know. I know.
That's going to be a whole episode, so you don't even have to start explaining it. But that's just one of the things, like. And this, how long ago did you find out your dad wasn't your dad?
Not even a year and a half ago, 16 months ago. So here I am. My brother is telling me, Jeff, I got, you sitting down. Are you sitting down? I said, no, I'm driving right now. I said, well, you need to be sitting down.
Pull over.
Yeah. I said, I'll be home in a minute. I said, you can tell me right now. And they said, that's when he told me that one of these things is not like the other. That's why all of a sudden, instead of having brothers and a sister, I now have half brothers and half sisters. And I've met my biological dad and talked with him. I did not know that the person who I thought was my biological dad was not my biological dad. All of a sudden, my entire history changes. I think that I am British, maybe from some royal ancestry or something like that. I find out I'm half Irish and half Italian.
Yeah, you can drink now.
Yeah, hence the term Godfather.
You can drink now, dude. You're like Jason Momoa drinking Guinness. I'm Irish.
Yeah, no. Drink, fight, and call the familia. Okay, I need to help here.
I think it's going to be a good episode too, because like when talking about it to you about it, I can tell, there's been healing. It doesn't affect you too emotional. There's been other guys, man. And there was another one in the comments, found out his dad wasn't his dad, looked for him his whole life, and then finds out right as he was about to find him, his dad was dead. Had been looking for him all those years. It's a big conversation. I wonder how many people found out their father was not their father because of Ancestry and Me and 13 and Me.
Yeah.
Or Ancestry and 13 and Me. Like, that is a big issue. And the only thing that we hear of it is like Maury Povich, you are not the dad, some sensationalist type crap. But think about that and put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You find out after all these years.
Yeah.
That this person, and what's crazy is a lot of times the person that they called dad was not good to them.
Right.
Some of them were.
Why?
But the majority of the time I hear the cases, they were not good to him. And they had a father that over here that would have loved him, and they never even got the chance.
Yeah.
And then even if there is a possibility of a relationship, all that time that's passed, the awkwardness that's got to go into building this brand new relationship.
Right.
You have to be an evil human being to do that to a kid, man.
Happy Mother's Day.
I mean, I don't, but it was so accepted. It was so accepted. This is something that I think is more common than we know. It's just, again, it's not talked about. I've met several men that have been through that.
Yeah.
Just like in passing, not on dad talk stuff. It's like in the real world. You don't have to search far to find someone that's been through that.
And what does society do to those people? What happens when they find out they're not the dad and all that? They get shamed. Oh, a real man would step up. Well, blah, 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 this and blah, blah, that. Screw that. Let's look at the whore that, cheated on you, had a kid, and then made you the dad that you had to pay for all these years and develop a relationship. No one does that to the women. I'm tired of the lack of accountability. That's what pisses me off.
Steve Baskerville says this. He says that male custody should be the default.
It was.
Yeah.
I heard somebody talking about that actually earlier today on a podcast.
Yeah. And I'm not, I've listened to Stephen talk about that. And I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to penalize or say anything deprecating against mothers. There are tremendous mothers, but
I'll do it.
We're having to tiptoe, and I understand.
No, but what he's saying is that in itself has changed the law dynamics, because now what are we doing? Now we need retroactive child support from conception. Now we need to we have all of these programs in place to prop up this idea of the mother getting custody, the father not even knowing perhaps whether he's the father or not, and finding out that he isn't the father, and she knows who the real father is. I mean, things like that.
How many times do they have to go and get a paternity test to find out who the real dad is?
Yeah.
Keeping in mind, your fertile day is 3 days. How many times?
When's the last time you've heard of a father trying to transgender his child?
Very rare.
Yeah. There is one simp over here at the UTD, but
I've heard of one possible
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's just something you don't hear. Men trying to get these surgeries for their kids. You don't hear of it. I hear
Right.
it all the time on the other side.
Yeah.
But
I know.
let's not talk about dads getting custody, and
but
the same ones to get behind these bills will be the ones to put the bills out there against the dads.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're for the
we really, I do agree with you, Dewayne, to a certain extent. We've been way too soft.
Yeah.
We got to, and that was something Jeff Younger was saying. He said we could get hardcore. The other side, whether it's the feminists, they get hardcore. The trans community, it's the most hardcore community I've ever seen.
God. Yeah.
And Jeff, you had to stand there at UNT with Jeff Younger. I guess you got to see that. They know how to organize.
Well, the interesting thing, I had somebody that, I know I had to move because somebody kind of went after me a little bit and whatever. But anyway.
Feminism is the biggest lie sold to women, and they're not smart enough to figure it out. They're all boss bitches until they hit the wall, and then they regret it for the rest of their life. Show me where I'm wrong.
I don't know what it is about these women think with that attitude that, like, I guess it makes them like an attractive woman. I'm like, what? It makes me shiver when I see that woman that's controlling and you got to do this, or, that wants to argue with you about everything. I don't want anything to do with that type of woman.
Yeah.
I want a feminine woman that knows how to de-escalate situations.
Right. Yeah. So
I don't mind one that calls me out when I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot, but I'm not wrong all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, in a marriage, though, is that, the woman, it turns the neck. You're the head of the household. They turn the neck. They have a lot of power, and you're supposed to be working together to build your empire. But these boss bitches just, they want to run over you. And unfortunately, these simp guys just bend over and take it. And they wonder why they get cheated on. Why? I mean, the Will Smith scenario. I mean, guys need to grow a set of balls across the board and start being men. What I've seen over the last couple decades with boys, all started, for me anyway, in the 70s and 80s, we need to grow our balls back. Plain and simple.
With you.
And repeal the 19th Amendment. Get that out there now.
Yeah.
No, seriously. It should. I'm going to go down that diatribe of repeal the 19th.
Well,
I'm a big proponent of it.
I hear you.
And we could talk on and on.
We could, man. I'm sitting here. It's going on for about 2 hours, but welcome back to Dad Talk. It's been a while. I miss you guys. I didn't come on here for ratings or anything. I just wanted to talk to my buddies tonight. It's been too long. And it's, I care about this cause. I care about it with all of my heart. I got exhausted because of it. And let me say something. I know, like, again, a lot of that could be construed as negative. Any of the advocates out there that's pouring their heart into something and putting effort in, thank you. And I hope that you take it all the way to the top. And I'll be there to clap for you when you do. I feel like we've been getting this thing wrong, dude, because this cause, we shouldn't have to be doing all this.
Yeah.
We should never, we just wanted to be dads, dude. I don't know about you guys. I never wanted to do a podcast. I still don't want to do it half the time. But I know it's needed. And it's great to see these other influencers and stuff that are coming up and really making a hit. I think Andrew Tate is a gift from God, really. I think he has been one of the greatest influences for these young men. I would rather them be watching him than a lot of this other trash that was getting pushed down their throats. And it's even in the schools, dude. I mean, it's everywhere. But I do think the temperature is right. It's just, there's got to be, I don't know, dude. It keeps me up at night. Sometimes that's why I don't talk about it, because it's like, you can feel something there. You just don't know quite how to put your finger on it.
I just know that men can do better. We were better. And when I know that something can happen, that's why I've been in this for over a decade, is I know, and that maybe it's the education, maybe at the end of the day, men need to nut up and stop taking this crap and be men.
Right.
Get
That's what the
involved
world
with Dad
needs.
Talk Today. Do what? Yeah, the world
Masculinity is needed.
we were a great nation. I mean, we owned it. I mean, with this issue, we need to get people behind Dad Talk Today. Go out to Pissed Off Parent, become a sign on. I got 2. I'm at 982 now.
Jeff, have you subscribed to Pissed Off Parent?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dewayne, have you subscribed to Jeff Morgan on YouTube?
I have subscribed to Jeff Morgan and Dad Talk Today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure you go and subscribe. And
Dwayne,
that's how we support each other, man.
Yeah. What you said, Dwayne, I mean, what you just said is absolutely scriptural. I mean, 1 Corinthians 16 verses 13 and 14. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love, but act like men, be strong.
Yep.
And we have to get that manliness back in a sense. And I don't, I've seen a lot of men that I've admired because of their manliness. So they've encouraged me toward that. I mean, I've had, there's a lot of guys that you see that are big and strong and everything else, but sometimes it's like, I still remember the China guy, the Tiananmen Square guy, like the tank man, this one of the guys, I'm like, I love that guy. And we each have our different strengths. We don't have the same abilities. I mean, people can lift 3 times more than I can, whatever. But where I am, God has put me there. And he's also said with everything else, act like a man and be strong. You may be the only one standing, but act like a man and be strong. And you have no problem. I mean, that's really what we have to do. And be around other men that can make you act stronger, that you learn from, that the things rub off on you. I remember when Eric was starting Dad Talk Today, and he said, I'm not making an apology for Dad because, I've obviously helped a lot of women too. And I heard him say that there's no need to apologize for being a dad. There's no need to apologize for being a mom. We need both. But as a dad, you cannot be feminine. You must act like a man and be strong. So.
Dude, at the end of the day, that's like, I believe in MGTOW. I believe that it's a good thing for the guys now. It's a good temporary solution, but I'm also torn on it because I know that's not the permanent answer. Right. I believe in the nuclear family. That's what I want to see us get back to. Mom and dad in the household, letting dad be the dad, letting mom be the mom, them working together to make that family unit. That's where we need to be getting back to. And unfortunately, with the laws and the stereotypes that we got now, it's just not working out that way.
Yeah. You act like a man to be strong and you're going to be sued.
I mean, dude, another reason is, guys, you're talking about these guys 24 and under, 50% of them that aren't making a move on a woman. It's not just rejection. They're afraid that if they ask out that woman, they're going to get labeled for sexual harassment or domestic violence, any number of things. It has gotten that dangerous. If you go out on a date, I'm going to tell you, young men, before you go and lay down with a woman, it's almost to the point, you better get that in writing before you do anything. It's like, I consented to this tonight. It sounds ridiculous, but that's where we've gotten.
Yeah. The government's coming for you.
Yeah.
You be ready.
Yeah. And I think I mean, that's why I talk about a lot of the things with marriage and stuff like that and the family and the divorce laws and everything else. I think that, but the churches are so wimpy. I would love to have an alternative system in place that we say, where are the churches? Because if you look at some of the great revolutions that have taken place or the resistance against tyranny, it's been strong churches. Where are the churches that will stand up to the system, even in Texas, and say, we will not follow? I want pastors that will say, I will never marry you if you have a marriage license from the state of Texas. We will do it under God. We will not let the state of Texas be God in your marriage. We will not, we will not subject you to that jurisdiction. That's my perspective. Now, pastors don't do that because we have to obey the government. Those who God has appointed an authority over us. There comes a point, however, that we must draw a line. I mean, it's like when all the churches shut down during COVID, and I'm like, where are the churches that are open? I mean, I'm like, are you absolutely serious? You might say, okay, I'll give it a week or two, whatever. We'll look at it, but no, Where were the churches that they had strong people that said, I'm sorry, but this is not the jurisdiction of government, and we need to be here ministering to people. You had people that were dying from loneliness, dying abandoned because their family members couldn't see them, and they're afraid to. I mean, it was awful.
Being in touch with their feelings.
Yeah. And that's why we need to be standing like men, being strong and confronting evil, and call out evil, expose evil. I don't care if it's in your church. I don't care where it is. Expose evil. We cannot. I think I don't see how we can be strong if we are not at least confronting evil on occasion. Probably a whole lot more than what we should be. I'm just like,
start in your home. Start the conversations. Share the information. Get the conversation going.
Do you think it could be like these guys that have went through these, really toxic relationships where it was trying and everything, every time they come home, there's an argument. And it's just like, I am so sick of arguing. I don't want any more conflict. I just want peace. I know I've been that guy. To where they're just, when these situations arise where they need to push back, they're like, no, we don't want to do it for peace. I don't want conflict right now. There's going to be a time, guys, you've got to face that conflict.
Yeah.
And we need all of you facing it.
Yeah. But
that's like, I guess the one that keeps me up at night is like how to organize that.
Yeah. I mean, look, you don't even have pastors. This is the pretty much, you don't have pastors and elders and stuff like that preach on biblical submission of women.
No, that's not going to win them any favor.
I know, and it's to some degree, because if you look at churches, the majority of people in churches, generally speaking, are women and children, and men are like probably in third place, right? So who's your customer base? So now you start to tailor a message because you don't want to offend your customer base, and especially those that are doing the work, because women have done a lot of tremendous work. So you don't want to have these people run away from your church, especially when the men are, feel like they have to become effeminate to join your church, put on a dress.
Wait, are you saying women ruin the church?
No, what I'm saying is that, first off, number one, women
they would never do that, Dewayne.
I'm thinking of the Timothy passage. I may be misquoting here, but women need to shut up in the church. That's my translation.
Well, like I said, yeah. I mean, I've had this conversation. I said, listen, and honestly, women are not supposed to be teaching in the church. And if you have a question, you're supposed to go ask your husband. That is a biblical pattern. It's not a North American.
What is that aside from the biblical pattern?
I agree with this. Mr. Corey Blanton said, that's why I never understood why people allow the government to license something as deeply religious, spiritual, and personal as marriage. To license that, I just can't see how that is okay. I'm with you, bro.
Okay, I'll give you a quickie on this one. That didn't come out right. Okay, so think about a gun license. It came out
exactly right. That's what he meant.
Think about a gun license, a driver's license. What is it you're doing, and what has the government done? So getting a driver's license, it's illegal to drive without a driver's license, the government allowing you to do it. A marriage license, it was illegal to get married without the church, without the state granting a marriage license. They didn't know this whole nonsense of the church and all that fun stuff. It's actually illegal. I did a video on this way back when. Yeah. But that's the thing that people need to understand, is that the government, when they got their tentacles in the whole thing, it was actually illegal to get married without a license.
But yeah, but that, you know what?
So read the license. Does it say love anywhere in there?
No.
Nope.
But I'm just saying that there are some things. So they're giving you a license for a fundamental right. You have a fundamental right to marry, and you have to get a license from the government to exercise a fundamental right. You have a fundamental right to travel, and you have to get a license from the government to travel in a vehicle. I mean, they're licensing things that are our fundamental rights. I'm wondering when they're going to start licensing the ability of us to breathe air. Or maybe we're going to give you an air tax because you're breathing our air or something. I mean, that sounds insanely ridiculous. But why do we need a license for a fundamental right? They're trying to make it sound like you really don't have those fundamental rights. We have the fundamental rights. And whatever, I think it was Corey that said, I 100% agree. I think the strongest argument, which we're afraid to use, is the whole idea about jurisdiction. The state has no jurisdiction over a religious ceremony like that, you know.
And we've allowed these losers, I'll speak about Texas, that if you represent yourself as married, you're common law married and subject to common law marriage. That's what we've allowed.
Right. And then I just say, no, absolutely.
Eric's mind blown. Like, what the hell happened?
No, I know.
Why do fathers have to go through family court to be with their kids?
They should never have to go through it. A stranger is going to tell you what to do now.
A stupid one that breaks my heart, man. Yeah. Like, how did they get that type of power to where they could trick these dads into thinking to be with your own children? You got to go through this process, and you're going to pay dearly for it. And we're going to make you a visitor.
Yeah.
We're going to make you a visitor, and we're going to take your money that you could have used for your child that was made from a sacrifice of time to support them. Now you're supporting us in doing this to you. Yeah. You're getting bent over every way you turn. And it's just so sad, man. I was at the hospital not long ago when I was taking care of one of my loved ones, and there was a lady just started talking to me. I didn't know why. And then it made sense before too long. She had just found out she had cancer and was crying. And she's like, I don't know why I'm telling you this. And then she said, it's really hard on me because I lost my son last year. I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, what happened? She said he killed himself because his baby's mom wouldn't let him see his kid. And that was the beginning of the conversation. And then that's when I knew exactly why I was to be talking to her.
Right.
And that is so common, man. I mean, to keep your kids from you and to make you pay. Are we wrong for allowing them to make us to go through family court?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
I think so. I think the whole thing is a sham.
But the thing is, the state has the weapons. The state has the military force. The force that if you do not obey them, they will punish you, make an example of you, to confiscate your money, and there's very little you can do about it. But I agree that, there should be, we should be able to do this, and I don't know exactly what the way is. I think that I have some idea. Well,
the closest one I've seen is Florida, and I don't know how that's went in action. I can't believe that's not a more highly talked about subject, but with the Good Dad Act, where as long as you prove paternity, you have equal rights as the mom. They passed that alongside shared parenting and got done away with lifetime alimony.
Yeah, you never really talked too much about the Good Dad Act.
The Dad Act. It was about the time that I was just, dude.
I'll
be honest with you. I've talked to both of you guys about this behind the scenes, but that day when the verdict came down for Jim Brashear for killing John Mast, and I was in that courtroom.
Yeah.
Every bit of me, every bit of passion that I had to get on this microphone and do what I did went out the window.
Yeah.
No, I felt like a loser, a failure. It was like you couldn't have fought any harder than we did. And I was like, if those efforts can't do any more than this, you feel like you're fighting a losing battle, dude.
Right.
And I just got to be honest. And I know this now. I knew it then too, but it's just the reality. We're going to have more of those along the way doing this.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be a lot more of those, but it's hard to take.
Right.
It's hard to take, man. And that was around the time that came in, and I just couldn't get the energy to get on screen.
Until the people start standing up and fighting back, it's not going to change. It's going to get worse, which is what it's doing right now.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse. And they're going to tell you it's getting better. They always got something out there to make it seem like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And in the background, there's something else coming through the pipe. That's what I feel like with that retroactive child support.
They play chess. They're playing. They're playing chess.
They're
playing tiddlywinks over here. Yeah, I mean, we need guys and women that are going to stand up and nut up and start fighting back against the system. Have the conversations. Push things out. Don't be so freaking scared all the time. I get pissed off about this because I hear people going, well, I believe you, but I'm just too scared to talk. Quit being a pussy.
Yeah. Dewayne, along that line, they say that big doors swing on small hinges a lot of times. And there were a couple of things that I look back because, when we had the meeting with the Attorney General of the state of Texas, Ken Paxton, he was speaking in Rockwall. And I was going to ask a question on behalf of the fathers in the communities, about that, some type of, about the child support collections and everything else. And I'm like, I wasn't impacted by this, but I'm like, I've got to do this for my friends. I'm going to do it going to give it my shot and basically say, I've done this for you. And that was it. And that really kind of led to a spark here in a way in Texas. But it's like, I stumbled at the beginning and I'm like, and I tried to do it, but then the follow-up question, because you always have to have the follow-up question. The follow-up question is where like everything changed. But once you speak the first time, it's not that it's never hard after that, but once you start with a small victory, it gives you the courage to do it. And I mean, even, some of the other stuff that we've done that at this point, I think it's kind of normal in a sense, normative, but, for somebody who's starting out, it might seem like it's very, very dangerous, but take the small step first and then make a little bit bigger step. I remember when I was, I may have recorded some YouTube videos of judges and stuff like that and put them out. And at the beginning thinking like, well, I don't want to have them talking about how this is illegal to do what, and then get to the place and I'm like, I want everybody to hear that and challenge them, throw it in their face so that they all know that I could have been doing it or somebody else could have been doing it. But I mean, we have to at least have some way. I'm not saying that I can challenge every single thing, but do the little things that give you some courage. Because if you have no strength in the day of of little things, you'll have no strength later on. But we need to have people that are starting to develop the strength and not just thinking that, yelling is strength. Yelling is not strength.
No, that shows your stupidity and your weakness.
Yeah. But I mean, it's good to have a community of people. I mean, I've learned a lot from other people too. And I mean, we all have, but, and we all have different approaches. Support everybody. I want to see 25 different ways of attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jeff, while you're talking about that, reminds me of that first CPAC. Well, you was there when it happened, and the organizer comes up and is like, "I heard you have a podcast. Yeah, I want you on Media Row."
Yeah,
first ever political convention. After 2 or 3 interviews, they're wanting to put me in between Sirius XM and Breitbart. Yeah, and I had no equipment. Me and you had never met up until that point.
Yeah.
I went and printed out a cardboard logo and sat down, and that was my introduction into interviewing politicians.
Right.
Buddy, did we? But I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea that was going to be going on that weekend, and the amount of interviews that happened after that. It was a learning process. It was a learning process, and that was a stressful thing.
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm representing a community, and I know the desperation that they have behind these issues to see some action go on.
Right.
Yeah. And we did it. We did it. Yeah. We could still do it. I just want to make sure any efforts are actually effective.
Right. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so Eric, I mean, in summary, what is the fuel? What is the fire for you? What keeps you going every day?
Dude, whether it's dad talk or anything, I just want to do something that's going to make a real difference at the end of the day. I could give a crap less how many people watch it, how many views it gets. I could be the guy in my boxers sitting here in the middle of the woods and not have a care in the world, be completely happy, okay?
Right.
But I want to do something that makes a real difference, and I want my kids to see that sometimes the most meaningful things in life is what you do for others, not for yourself. I might not ever get to benefit from any of that advocacy work. I realize that. Now, early on, there was some selfishness in it because I was hoping that I was going to change it for me.
Right.
And I realized it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yeah.
But We got to make this world a better place, dude, because of the way that it's going now. If you're talking about the birth rates, the lowest that it's ever been, marriage is at an all-time low. We're not headed in a good direction.
Yeah.
And that conversation that is going to be so silly to people, we got to start getting more aggressive on it. Because when those sex robots come out, dude, that is going to be a very big challenge for our kids.
Yeah.
This AI, I'm not going to lie, I use it. It can be very useful. But
you'd be very specific, Chat GPT only.
It can be very, it's the things that it's going to be able to pull off. You got to think, man, we are the last generation before the facade of cell phones and social media took place.
Yeah.
We knew what it was like before that. Our kids don't.
Yeah.
That's what they was raised in. So there's another world coming up, and we got to make sure that we put these lessons out there for them and lay that foundation. Because if we don't, who will?
I'd like to take a stab at Dewayne.
Well, I was going to ask you next, Jeff. Yeah, what fuels your fire?
So at the beginning, obviously, the issue was no fault divorce that I've been all over the place on this. And but I said, when I saw the people that were doing stuff, I said, okay, initially I just wanted to have a sledgehammer. Felt like I could get a couple of blows in. Whoever, we can weaken the foundation. Whoever knocks it down, great. But I wanted to be in there. I wanted to have a say in that. I wanted to feel like I had at least contributed something. And I think that I have. And then at the same time, I wanted to be able to say, like, if my grandchildren ever came up to me and said, Grandpa, did you know that these things could happen to us? And Grandpa, did you do anything about it? I would say, yes, I knew. And yes, I was in there fighting. And one of the things that happened to me, Dewayne, is that my, for a time there, my one of my daughters thought that I was like making a fool out of myself, more or less, or just like, why are you doing this? Why are you attacking this person? But I think it was last year or so. She told me about something and she said, Dad, I know of no one who fights for children like you in the state of Texas. So it was something that wasn't being done for fame. And like Eric, I'm like, hey, I looked at a lot of the stuff that I was doing. Like I am a stand in the gapper till somebody who really knows what they're doing, much more eloquent. But but until that time, I have a voice. And that's what we have. We have a voice. We may not be the best voice, the most famous voice, the most popular voice, but we have a voice. We have a spine. We have a backbone. We have our convictions. And we are responsible for the people around us to the degree that we can be. Whoever God uses to be this great person, that goes, much more public or whatever. I don't know who that's going to be, but I just, I want to be faithful in the little things. It's not just the big things. Because we all want to say like, this is going to be, our names are going to be in lights. That doesn't make a difference. I don't care if nobody knows about my name. I can say without any hesitation, I know I was there. I know I contributed. And if my grandchildren ever ask anything or say something to me, I'll be able to say, yes, I was there. And you better believe I was fighting. I want, you want your grandchildren, your children to be proud of you, to say, wow, my granddad or whatever did these things. And we all know that we've helped some people. We haven't been able to help all. Eric, I understand your burnout too. The last couple of years, I felt like, I was just like worn out completely. But anyway, we're still standing. And
still here.
I remember Winston Churchill, they were talking with Winston Churchill one time about, the war efforts against the Nazis or something like that. And after he was talking about how we're going to do this and do that, and he covered his mic and he said, and we'll hit him with beer bottles if we need to, because that's about all we have left. So you know what? If all you have a beer bottle, use your beer bottle. I don't care. But we just have to keep standing and standing in the gap, standing in our position. There's another song that I've listened to, Help Is on the Way. Help is on the way. I think it's by Toby Mac or something like that. I'm like, okay, I still look forward, obviously, as a Christian and my faith in God and everything. That's what I'm looking for, that help will be on the way. Doesn't mean that it may not be stumbling, but, being faithful to him, being faithful to what I think he's put on my heart. And again, the whole thing about being there, if nobody knows me, that's fine. It's not an issue. I just want to say that I was there, because I think that the people that know you will know that you were there as well. So.
Yeah, man. I know there was some of those times I'd be on the live, it's not breaking any records or anything, but you get that message afterwards that says, you kept me from, I was going to make that call tonight to end it. You never know. You never know who's watching.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah.
You never know who's watching, man.
I had somebody tell me that and I was shocked. You don't know. You don't know.
And we need more people doing it.
Yeah.
You need a lot more people doing it, tuning in. But remember at the We the People thing in Dallas, that guy that came up to me, gave me a big old bear hug and told me I was the reason he didn't off himself.
Wow.
I've been thinking for a long time about just hanging it all up because, I've been out of the system for years now. I've got nothing to it. I made a promise to my boys way back when that they're never going to go through what I went through. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
The promise I made to them, and I just can't get out of it. But yeah, things like those things that happen, because I've thought a million times watching zero views and people asking dumb questions and just the stupid things that happen. The fact that I can't get to 1,000 YouTube subs, just hanging it up. But I made a promise to my kids. That's a big one. And that guy, that hit me in the feels, something fierce. I don't feel feelings that often, as we all know. And when he told me that he was going to off himself and he found my page and started watching some videos, that hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You never know who's looking.
That's what keeps us here, man.
Yeah.
This is not the most popular topic. It should be.
No.
It should be.
It should be. It's not.
No. I went and did a couple of other podcasts just to make sure, they was doing great. And I was like, but why not this? That used to be like one of my, but then again, like I said, it's the culture.
Yeah.
And another thing is I got to be very careful because I don't want to go around like begging men to get emotional, because I think that's one of the worst things that they can do as well. Emotions are not good for men.
Yeah.
Joseph said, most frustrating part is the division. That gets old too, man. It's, I got more, I guess, attacks from people that is inside of that small movement than I ever did on the outside. And it's just like, why am I doing this again? I had people saying that I was making $80,000 a month. Good God, I wish I made that.
I know.
I wish I made that in a year. But it's some of the most crazy attacks. And it's just like, these are the people that should be supporting you the most, and cheering on. But you got to get, one thing, Dewayne, I tell you this all the time. I'll tell Jeff, I'll tell anybody that's watching right now. One of the things, I'm reading comments while I'm on here right now. But one of the things I've learned is I post and ghost. I put it up and then I'm gone. You are never going to please everybody. And to sit there and read that crap all day long, I look at it this way, man. When Tyson Fury, before he lost, I would get on there all the time reading people's comments about how crappy of a fighter he was or something. And I'm like, the guy was the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. Nobody could beat him. But if you go in his comments, you would think he was the worst fighter of all time. They're always going to go after somebody successful. Like, really take into consideration the people that are making that. But right now, that's what we need is someone that can unite a lot of these guys. And my tank's on low for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer. I guess I should. I wish it sounded better.
Again, we get these guys manning up and getting involved, sharing the information. Like, go to dadtalktoday.com. Check out how many interviews have you done? Like 1 million?
Been a good bit.
Learn, get educated, get involved in it, have conversations. It's so weird. I don't know about you guys, but does every conversation that you have with anybody in the real world like turn into equal shared parenting in some form? It does for me.
A lot of them turn into, I'm more about the no fault divorce thing.
And crazy,
but yeah.
the air conditioner guy comes out. He leaves knowing all kinds of stuff. I had Spectrum out the other day, female, and we had a half-hour conversation about it. All these conversations. I know, Eric, you've had a number of conversations out in the real world.
Everybody connects with it. Everybody knows somebody that's going through it, or if they don't have the experience themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Or grew up in a broken home. I mean, it's one of the easiest conversations you can find a stranger and start talking about, because somebody can relate to it. And everybody knows a father that's been screwed by the system.
And
multiple.
You find more and more people. Like, I listen to like testimonies of people and everything. And one of the first things that they say is that I'm a child of divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I hear this all the time. And I'm like, my parents divorced. I was a child of divorce. It's like, the people do not understand how big that impacts these children. That shapes their identity.
Your childhood predicts everything in your future, man. Everything.
Yeah.
Until you work that out. And one day you're going to figure that out. And then when you work through it, you can get past it. But that trauma as a kid, it follows you, man.
Yeah.
And for us three, that's one of the reasons why we're so involved. We notice like in different ways of dealing with that. And we just don't want that for other people.
No. And the reality, I don't know about you guys, but, I've been doing some stuff lately and I'm like, boy, these things, they impact you in ways that you don't realize. Yeah. And it's not like it's, people say, oh, children of divorce, they're resilient. If the kids are happy, the parents are happy, the kids are happy, the kids will be okay. And when you look at some of these things, I'm like, there are lifelong impacts in many instances that you may not even realize until later how it impacts you. I mean, I'm finding that out for myself. I'm like, wow, this is, different things that I have that, largely you make accommodations for. You kind of know some of this stuff, but it's still there. And it's the family destruction industry, people that profit off of the destruction of families. These are the most despicable people. And, in the circles of hell.
I prefer
the ones that make the laws are the ones that you'll be paying and consulting with to do your divorce.
Yeah, it's some amazing stuff. But yeah, we need to get more people excited about this, talking about it, learning about it.
There's nothing exciting about it, but the change.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those, once they wake up in the matrix and they start seeing, and it's like, okay, and then they start teaching other people. And if we get enough people, again, 33 million people in Texas, 7 people showed up about something's going to impact 15 million people.
Well, I believe, we do have those, the Andrew Tates, Andrew Wilsons, and they're out there. I don't know that they specifically target family court. I think it's one of the issues.
They talk about it, but you can tell that they don't dig in enough. That's what I mean. Better Bachelors, Andrew Tate, Andrew Wilson. They have a lot of good requisite knowledge, but like they don't dig into it and they don't realize just how evil it is.
And the overall message is usually, do not get in a relationship. There's nothing to offer you. And I'm like, but dude, that just takes away that nuclear family.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal right there. But knowing what I know, how in the world do I encourage a young man to go get in a relationship? Because I think one of the problems, I was hearing about in a conversation the other day, is a lot of people are waiting until their 30s now before they have kids, and they've lost their most fertile years. I know I went through many mistakes, but I was a father at 18, dude. And, my oldest is 21 and I'm just turned 40. I've got a little bit of life left. I hope. And I think that was good. I wish I would have done some things different, but I think that turned out well. But so many people are waiting, and some of the best years they could have in their parenting is gone by. But I understand why they're doing it. It's a conundrum, dude.
Oh, it's crazy.
A conundrum. Again, where are the incentives for marriage? We should be de-incentivizing divorce. There should be penalties for divorce, not incentives.
So I would take that a little bit further. I would, because the churches are offering the gospel, but they should also be offering a public good. And I think that if you have churches that the divorce rates are above a certain level, because we know that divorces are happening a lot more in the church now than what they used to, that the church is the tax exempt status. Say, well, listen, because strong families are crucial to a strong society. And this is one of the things that the church can do that offers good while it's preaching the gospel to the society, keeping marriages together. And if you're not doing that, if your congregation or whatever, the people that have been in your church, and if you're not helping to stop them or actively involved in trying to stop them, you can't necessarily take consequence, be held accountable for other people's decisions. But if you are not taking the proper steps, I think, I would love to see.
Well, you know what?
I'd have a religious commission set up that was government funded to go in and say, you guys have just lost it. You're out of here. You're fired.
You know what busts my balls? This is something that busts my balls. I mean, everyone hears about the pissed off parent. I'm angry at the world, yada, yada, yada. Women have screwed me up, whatever. I'm actually married, and I'm happily married. And that's another thing. I now know, thank God, what it's like to be in a good marriage.
In a healthy marriage.
A healthy marriage. And that's something I want to model for my kids and the world. And, but I can't, you spend so much time, like, I have, that's part of my story, but then, there's all this other bad stuff. And I can't teach kids, hey, find a good one. It took me a couple tries. I mean, well, you guys have met Brandy.
Yeah.
I mean, good girl. She gets it. She's, and she's a happily married woman.
Mm-hmm.
We get along great. We have a biblical marriage. And I want other people to see that and experience the same thing. But with all this other crap, it's like, if someone says, hey, what should I do? I mean, if that gun's got 5 bullets in it and you're playing Russian roulette, you're like, can't do it.
Yeah, and that's the illustration I'm using. Like, people said, well, men should just go ahead, like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro. And I mean, Matt Walsh talks about some of these issues, but take the risk. I'm like, wait a minute. I am against giving a person a half-loaded gun and saying, go play some Russian roulette with yourself. If there were 20 chambers and only one was loaded, I would not even go with those odds.
And the problem is, those are very smart men.
Yeah.
They're very smart. And if they read the statistics, they'll see, but they still push that.
Right.
That was one of the problems I had when I interviewed Charlie Kirk. And I really like Charlie. I support a lot of what he does. I think he's amazing. And it takes balls to do what Charlie does. But his advice was men need to get married and have as many kids as they can, as young as they can. I was like, where do I even start? I didn't really push back because it was a short interview, but I was like, I understand what he's saying. In a perfect world, yes.
Yeah.
But do you not understand that? And part of the reason is just there has not been enough awareness as to how bad these men are getting screwed. And that's why I really think the awareness angle is the one that we need to be getting at, because we have the perfect opportunity for it. But that takes a lot of effort and a lot of resources that this movement just does not have.
Yeah.
I've got the equipment.
Yeah.
You know that, Dewayne.
Yeah.
Well, again, follow Dad Talk Today. Follow Pissed Off Parent. Follow Jeff Morgan. Yeah, I got the cameras and all that stuff. I mean,
it's a movie making camera.
Get the awareness out there. We just need people to stand up, stand with us, and get that out there. And then hopefully we can get some things changed.
Right.
That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 2 things I'm worried about is retroactive child support that's coming up and the sex robots. That's going to be our next episode. I want to dive much more deep into that. And hopefully we can do that sometime soon.
We had a bill that was just passed here that basically said that childlike sex dolls are illegal. So they're already, even with the sex dolls, they're talking about, the ones that look like a child. Those are illegal. But you know, if
Mhm.
people are using sex dolls, and if they have, I mean, it's just, I agree. That whole thing is going to be, I think that somebody had a comment in the chat about there's a brothel, I think up in Las Vegas or somewhere in Nevada that
I pulled it up.
oh, maybe, yeah.
123 Main Street, Asper Candy.
Inside cyber brothel. Let me take this back.
Oh, snap.
Inside.
There's an
Oh, this
actual-
is in Berlin. There's another one I think in Vegas, but
Yeah.
cyber brothel, the world's first AI brothel using virtual reality sex dolls. This is going to be a huge issue, man.
Wow.
They're going to be so cheap. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but like I said, I mean, it's, I don't know. I think it's going to be a disaster.
I mean, these actions have consequences.
Matt Dodson,
not real children.
Matt Dodson just made a comment that
I know.
Mike Drock, boom.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sex dolls, but not real children. He nailed it. I mean,
Yep.
he nailed it.
Yep.
We care talk more about that, but we don't give a crap about kids.
I think that's another thing too to bring up to the legislators, what we was talking about earlier. Why do fathers need rights? These same legislators that want to pass these bills and say that these transgender surgeries are wrong. Well, I've never heard of a father trying to get one for his kid.
Yeah.
Maybe one. I've heard one case that gets thrown around, but the exception definitely does not make the rule.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's some crazy people out there. I'm surprised there's not more than one, but predominantly it's not something you see dads doing. Right. So why aren't dads more in the conversation with any of this?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, guys. I think I'm about ready to end it. Because I want to get back on here later. This is not the end. We could go on all night. And what you're seeing here is just a brainstorming session, really. I mean, we're all trying to figure out what to do too. And this is what we do behind the scenes, talk to each other and try to find out how to make the world a better place and to solve this crisis. It's a real one. It really is. And it hurts my heart to know that there's so many of these dads out there wanting to be in their kids' lives and they're not getting the opportunities. You should not have to go through family court.
And it's not just the dads, it's the entire family of the dad.
Oh, yeah.
So you're cutting out grandparents, aunts, uncles, everything else that is necessary to help create a strong society and strong children.
They take out the main ingredient, though. If you take the father out of the home, you get what we've got now.
Right, right.
And it is causing every single bit of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dad is so much more important than they would have you to believe.
Right.
So, all right, guys. Hey, I promise it will not be that much, that long before you see us again. Maybe even tomorrow. I'll see what these guys are up to. Maybe we can have one of those conversations tomorrow.
We got plenty of them that we can go into, right?
We do. Good talking to you guys, man. Everybody, y'all have a good night.